The champagne glass shattered against marble. Sophia Bennett's hand trembled as she stared at the man who'd just walked into her wedding reception. A man who shouldn't exist anymore, not like this. Not in a $10,000 suit with eyes that had forgotten how to smile. Daniel Johnson. Her ex-boyfriend. Her first love. But this wasn't the Daniel she'd invited out of nostalgia and guilt. This wasn't the struggling artist who'd kissed her goodbye 7 years ago with paint still under his fingernails and dreams bigger than his empty wallet. This was someone else entirely. Sophia. His voice cut through the classical music and polite laughter like a blade through silk. Every head in the ballroom turned. 200 wedding guests fell silent in a wave, starting from where he stood at the entrance and rippling outward until even the string quartet faltered. Her fiancé, Adrian Bates, appeared at her side, his fingers gripping her elbow just a fraction too tight. "Who is that?" She couldn't answer. Couldn't breathe. Daniel's dark eyes found hers across the sea of designer gowns and rented tuxedos, and something in his expression made her stomach drop. It wasn't anger. It wasn't jealousy. It was warning. Behind him, one of his men whispered into a phone. Another scanned the room with the calculated precision of someone trained to identify exits and threats. The third never stopped watching Adrian, his hand resting inside his jacket on something Sophia desperately hoped wasn't what she thought it was. "I received your invitation," Daniel said, walking forward now. "I couldn't miss it. After all." His lips curved into something that wasn't quite a smile. "We have so much to celebrate." Adrian's grip tightened. "Sophia, what the hell is going on?" But she was drowning in a memory. Daniel's face 3 weeks ago on her television screen during the morning news. A crime boss's arrest in the city. Federal investigations. Money laundering. And there in the background of the footage, barely visible but unmistakable, Daniel, walking away from the courthouse like he owned it. She'd thought she'd imagined it. Convinced herself it was impossible. The invitation had already been sent. "Daniel, she started. "We need to talk." He was close now, close enough that she could smell his cologne, expensive, foreign, nothing like the cheap aftershave he used to wear. "Right now. Before you make a mistake you can't undo." Adrian stepped between them. "I don't know who you think you are." "I know exactly who I am." Daniel's voice dropped to a whisper that somehow felt more dangerous than shouting. "The question is, do you know who he is?" He looked at Adrian when he said it, and something passed between them. Something cold and knowing and terrible. Sophia's wedding dress suddenly felt like a cage. 7 years ago, Sophia had believed in fairy tales. She'd met Daniel at a gallery opening in Brooklyn. One of those cramped, pretentious spaces where struggling artists displayed their souls on canvas and prayed someone with money would notice. She'd been there with her roommate, Clara Maguire, a photographer with more ambition than sense. Daniel had been standing in front of his own painting, a violent explosion of reds and blacks that somehow felt like hope. "It's angry," Sophia had said. "It's honest," he'd replied. 3 months later, she'd moved into his studio apartment. 6 months after that, she'd been completely, devastatingly in love with a man who had everything except money. That had been the problem, hadn't it? Or so she'd told herself. Sophia came from a world where security mattered more than passion, where her mother, Patricia Colby, had raised her alone after her father died, scrubbing floors and working double shifts to keep their heads above water. "Love doesn't pay the bills, sweetheart," her mother had whispered during those long nights when young Sophia had watched her count pennies and cut coupons. Remember that. She'd remembered. When Daniel couldn't afford rent for the 3rd month in a row, when she'd been covering groceries and utilities while he poured everything into his art, when the electricity had been shut off in the middle of winter, she'd made a choice. She'd walked away from the fairy tale. "I can't do this anymore," she'd told him, standing in that freezing apartment with her suitcase packed. "I love you, but love isn't enough." He hadn't fought her. That was what hurt most. Daniel had just nodded, his dark eyes hollow, and said, "I understand." That was 7 years ago. Now, Sophia was 31, a senior marketing executive at a firm in Manhattan, and engaged to Adrian Bates, a man who'd never missed a payment on anything in his life. Adrian was 43, Handsome in that distinguished way that came with expensive haircuts and personal trainers. He owned 3 properties, drove a Mercedes, and had proposed with a ring that cost more than her first year's salary. He was everything she'd thought she wanted. Safe. Secure. Stable. So why had she sent Daniel that invitation? Clara had asked her the same question 3 weeks ago while helping her address envelopes. You sure about this? Inviting the ex to your wedding is some kind of masochistic closure ritual or what? Sophia had laughed it off. It's been 7 years. We've both moved on. I want him to see that I'm happy. That I made the right choice. But that wasn't entirely true, was it? The truth was more complicated. Messier. The truth was that sometimes, late at night when Adrian was asleep beside her, Sophia would remember what it felt like to love someone so completely that the world disappeared. She'd remember Daniel's hands covered in paint, pulling her close. His laugh. The way he'd looked at her like she was the only thing in the universe that mattered. She'd sent the invitation because some small, traitorous part of her wanted to know if he still thought about her too. She'd never expected him to actually come. And she'd certainly never expected this. Adrian Bates wasn't a bad man. Sophia had to remind herself of that as she stood in the ladies' room, gripping the marble counter while Clara dabbed at the champagne stain on her wedding dress. Breathe, Clara commanded. Just breathe and tell me who the hell that was. Daniel. Daniel. Artist Daniel. Broke-ass but beautiful Daniel from 7 years ago. Clara's eyes widened. That was him. Girl, what happened? Did he rob a bank? Sophia's laugh came out strangled. I don't know. I saw something on the news a few weeks ago, but I didn't think. The door burst open. Both women jumped. But it wasn't Daniel or Adrian. It was Natalie Cross, Adrian's assistant, a sharp-eyed woman in her late 20s who'd always watched Sophia with something that felt like pity. She'd been working for Adrian for 5 years, managing his calendar, his business deals, his entire life with ruthless efficiency. Sophia, Natalie said, slightly breathless. Adrian wants you back out there. Now. He's trying to handle the situation, but... What situation? Sophia demanded. Natalie's expression flickered with something unreadable. Your guest. He's not leaving. He says he has something to give you. A wedding gift. Clara and Sophia exchanged glances. A wedding gift from a Mafia boss, Clara muttered. This should be good. But as Sophia smoothed her dress and prepared to return to the ballroom, she caught Natalie's reflection in the mirror. The assistant was staring at her phone, her face pale, her fingers trembling slightly. And in that moment, Sophia realized something crucial. Natalie was terrified. Not surprised. Not confused. Terrified. Like she knew exactly who Daniel was, and exactly why he'd come. The ballroom felt different when Sophia returned. The guests weren't dancing anymore. They'd formed a wide circle around Daniel and his men, like spectators at a car crash, horrified but unable to look away. Adrian stood at the edge of that circle, his jaw tight, his phone pressed to his ear. Calling someone. Security. The police. Daniel waited in the center of it all, patient as a predator. When he saw Sophia, he smiled. There's the bride. She forced herself to walk toward him, each step feeling like a mile. Daniel, I don't know what you're doing here, but... I told you. I brought a wedding gift. He snapped his fingers. One of his men stepped forward, carrying a manila envelope. Thick. Official looking. Daniel took it, then held it out to her. Open it. Daniel. Open it, Sophia. His voice dropped, intimate and urgent. Before you marry him, please. The please did it. That single word, cracked and human, so different from the cold authority he'd radiated since walking in. Her hands shook as she took the envelope. Adrian crossed the room in 4 long strides. Don't. Sophia, don't open that. Whatever game he's playing. It's not a game, Daniel interrupted, his eyes never leaving Sophia's face. It's the truth. Something your fiancé should have told you months ago. You son of a bitch, Adrian lunged. Daniel's men moved like liquid shadow, intercepting Adrian before he got within 3 feet. They didn't hurt him, didn't even touch him roughly, just created a wall of muscle and expensive fabric between him and their boss. The message was clear: you're not in control here. Sophia's fingers found the envelope seal. Ripped. Documents spilled into her hands. Legal papers. Financial records. Photographs. Her brain struggled to process what she was seeing. Bank statements. Offshore accounts. Names she didn't recognize attached to numbers that made her dizzy. And photographs. Adrian at a restaurant with men in suits. Adrian shaking hands with someone the caption identified as Carlo Vescovi, a name she knew from news reports about organized crime. Adrian signing papers in what looked like a warehouse. What? Her voice sounded far away. What is this? Your fiancé, Daniel said quietly, has been laundering money for the Vescovi family for the past 3 years. $20 million, moved through his real estate holdings. He's not a legitimate businessman, Sophia. He's a criminal. And in 2 days, the FBI is going to arrest him. The ballroom tilted. That's insane, Adrian snarled, but his face had gone white. You're insane. She's not going to believe. There's more. Daniel's expression softened as he looked at her, and for a moment, she saw a ghost of the boy she'd loved. Page 7. She didn't want to look. Every instinct screamed at her to stop, to throw these papers away, to unhear everything Daniel had just said. But her hands kept moving. Page 7. A marriage certificate. Adrian Bates and Natalie Cross. Married 4 years ago in Atlantic City. Still married. The document slipped from Sophia's fingers, scattering across the polished floor like fallen leaves. No, she whispered. She looked up, found Natalie in the crowd. The assistant's face crumpled. Guilt written in every line. Sophia, I can explain, Adrian started. But she was already backing away, her mind fragmenting into 1,000 pieces. The man she was supposed to marry was a criminal. And already married. To his assistant. Her entire life was a lie. Why? She couldn't tell if she was asking Adrian or Daniel or the universe itself. Why would you? Because you were perfect, Adrian said, and the mask finally cracked. Desperation bled through. Clean. Respectable. The FBI was already watching me. I needed a wife who could make me look legitimate. Someone with no connections to my business. Someone who'd never suspect. He stopped. Realized what he'd just admitted. Silence crashed through the ballroom like a wave. Daniel stepped closer to Sophia, his hand reaching out but not quite touching her. I'm sorry, he said, and she heard real pain in those words. I'm sorry you had to find out this way. But I couldn't let you marry him. I couldn't let you become collateral damage when the feds move in. You've been watching me. The realization hit her like cold water. How long have you known? 6 months. His jaw tightened. I have connections. People who keep me informed about certain activities in the city. When Adrian Bates's name crossed my desk and I saw yours attached to it. He shook his head. I've been trying to decide how to tell you. Then your invitation arrived. 6 months. He'd known for 6 months and said nothing. Until now. Sophia looked at the ruins of her wedding, the staring guests, the abandoned cake, the flowers that suddenly seemed obscene in their beauty. She looked at Adrian, being quietly restrained by Daniel's men. At Natalie, crying silently in the corner. At Daniel, with his dangerous suit and his dark eyes and his impossible claim that he'd done all this to save her. Get out, she whispered. Daniel's expression fractured. Sophia. All of you. Get out. Get out. Her voice echoed off the vaulted ceiling. For a moment, no one moved. Then Daniel nodded slowly. He gestured to his men, who released Adrian and began moving toward the exit. But before he left, Daniel turned back one final time. The Vescovis don't forgive loose ends, he said quietly. Adrian knows you've seen these documents now. He knows you're a liability. You're not safe, Sophia. Not anymore. Then he was gone, taking his men and his revelations and his warnings with him. Leaving Sophia standing in the wreckage of her future, wondering if the man who'd just destroyed her wedding had actually saved her life. And wondering why, after 7 years of silence, Daniel Johnson, the struggling artist turned mafia boss, still cared enough to try. The hotel suite was too quiet. Sophia sat on the edge of the bed still wearing her wedding dress, staring at the documents spread across the silk duvet. Clara had shooed away the remaining guests, handled the vendors, and somehow gotten Sophia out of the ballroom before the complete breakdown hit. Now it was 2 a.m., and Sophia couldn't stop reading the same pages over and over, hoping the words would change. They didn't. Her phone had been ringing for hours. Adrian. Natalie. Her mother. She'd ignored them all. Until a number she didn't recognize flashed across the screen. Against her better judgment, she answered. "Don't hang up." Daniel's voice, rough with exhaustion. "Please." She should have ended the call. Should have blocked the number and never thought about him again. "How did you get this number?" she asked instead. "I told you. I have connections." A pause. "Are you safe? Where are you? Why do you care?" "Sophia." "No. You don't get to do this." Her voice cracked. "You don't get to disappear for 7 years, become some kind of criminal, and then crash back into my life playing hero. You humiliated me tonight. In front of everyone I know." "I saved you tonight," he corrected quietly. "There's a difference. You destroyed my wedding. I destroyed your mistake." His voice hardened. "That man was using you. If you'd married him, you'd be implicated in his crimes. The FBI doesn't care about your intentions, Sophia. They care about evidence. And you would have been buried in it." She wanted to argue. Wanted to scream that he had no right, no authority over her life. But the documents didn't lie. "How did you even get all this?" she asked. "This is confidential information. Bank records, federal investigation details." "You really want to know the answer to that?" She didn't. Because the answer would confirm what she'd been trying not to think about since he walked into that ballroom. Daniel Johnson wasn't just connected to the Mafia. He was powerful within it. "What happened to you?" The question escaped before she could stop it. "You were an artist. You wanted to change the world with your paintings. How did you become this?" Silence stretched between them, filled with 7 years of distance and choices made in darkness. "You left," Daniel finally said. "And you were right to. I had nothing to offer you. So I decided to become someone who'd never have nothing again. By joining the mob. By surviving." His voice dropped to something raw and honest. "I did what I had to do. Made the deals I had to make. Got my hands dirty in ways you can't imagine. And yes, I became exactly the kind of man you'd hate. But I'm still the man who loves you enough to ruin your wedding to keep you safe." The words hit her like a physical blow. Loves. Present tense. Daniel. A knock at the door made her jump. "Someone's here," she whispered. "Don't answer it." Daniel's voice sharpened with command. "Sophia, listen to me. Don't open that door." But she was already moving toward it, phone still pressed to her ear. "It's probably just Clara. She went to get food. Clara has a key to your suite. She wouldn't knock." Sophia froze, her hand hovering over the doorknob. Another knock. Harder this time. "Sophia, it's me." Adrian's voice, muffled through the door. "Please. We need to talk." "It's Adrian," she told Daniel. "Do not let him in. He's my fiancé. He's a cornered criminal who knows you have evidence against him. He's dangerous, Sophia." She looked through the peephole. Adrian stood in the hallway, alone, his tie loosened and his hair disheveled. He looked broken. Desperate. Human. "He's by himself," she said. "That you can see." Daniel's breath came faster, like he was moving. "I'm 10 minutes away. Don't do anything until I get there." "You're coming here. How do you even know where?" She stopped. "You've been following me. I've been protecting you. There's a difference." Was there? She didn't know anymore. Didn't know who to trust or what to believe. Adrian knocked again. Sophia, please. I know you're scared. I know tonight was. God, I know I messed up. But the things Daniel told you, they're not the whole story. He's not who you think he is. Neither are you, she called through the door. You're right. You're absolutely right. I should have been honest from the beginning. But Sophia. His voice cracked. The marriage to Natalie, it was a green card thing. Years ago. We were going to annul it, but then things got complicated with the business, and I was going to handle it before the wedding. I swear. It sounded plausible. Almost believable. And the money laundering? She asked. Silence. Then, I made mistakes. But I never wanted you involved. I was trying to protect you by keeping you separate from that part of my life. Daniel, he's using selective information to manipulate you. He wants to destroy what we have. We don't have anything, Sophia said. Not anymore. We have 3 years together. We have love. We have a future. Adrian's hand pressed against the door. She could see the shadow of it through the gap at the bottom. He's playing you, Sophia. Daniel Johnson is one of the most dangerous men in this city. He runs protection rackets, drugs, illegal gambling. The Vescovi family. He works with them, not against them. Whatever he told you about me, is 100 times worse. Her stomach dropped. That's not true. Ask him, Adrian challenged. Ask him what he does for a living. Ask him how many people he's hurt. Ask him why the FBI hasn't touched him despite knowing exactly who and what he is. On the phone, Daniel had gone silent. Daniel, she whispered. It's complicated, he finally said. Is it true? Do you work with the Vescovis? A pause that lasted forever. Yes. The word fell like a stone into dark water, but not the way he's making it sound. Are you a criminal? Sophia. Are you? Yes. His voice turned to gravel. Yes. I'm a criminal. I run operations for 3 families in this city. I've done things that would make you sick. I'm not a good man, Sophia. I stopped being a good man a long time ago. But everything I told you about Adrian is still true. And you're still in danger. She couldn't breathe. Couldn't think. 2 men. Both criminals. Both claiming to protect her. Both lying about who they really were. I don't believe either of you, she said to both of them. Then she hung up the phone, stepped away from the door, and slid down the wall until she was sitting on the floor in her ruined wedding dress, finally letting herself cry. In the hallway, Adrian's shadow lingered for another moment before retreating. On the street below, Daniel sat in the back of a black SUV, his knuckles white around his phone, watching the hotel entrance with dark, haunted eyes. And somewhere in the city, in an office that overlooked the harbor, Carlo Vescovi received a phone call that made him smile like a shark scenting blood. The girl knows, he asked. Everything, his informant confirmed. Good. Vescovi lit a cigar. Then let's see what our dear Daniel does when he has to choose between his old love and his new life. This should be entertaining. Clara found her at dawn, still on the floor in her wedding dress. Jesus, Soph. Her friend knelt beside her, wrapping a blanket around her shoulders. How long have you been sitting here? I don't know. Sophia's voice came out hollow. What time is it? 6:30. Clara helped her to her feet. Come on. Coffee. Food. Shower. In that order. But as they moved toward the kitchenette, someone knocked. Both women froze. If that's Adrian again, Clara started. It's not. The voice from the other side was female. Crisp. Authoritative. Ms. Bennett, my name is Agent Rachel Ward, FBI. I need to speak with you. It's urgent. Sophia and Clara exchanged glances. How do we know you're really FBI? Clara called out. A badge slid under the door. Federal. Official. Terrifyingly real. Sophia opened the door. The woman standing there was in her mid-40s, sharply dressed, with eyes that had seen too much. She wasn't alone. A younger male agent stood behind her, his hand resting near his concealed weapon. "May we come in?" Agent Ward asked, but she was already stepping inside. "We don't have much time." "Time for what?" Sophia's heart hammered. Agent Ward pulled out a tablet, tapped the screen, and turned it toward Sophia. Surveillance photos. Dozens of them. Adrian meeting with known criminals. Exchanging briefcases. Signing documents in dimly lit rooms. "Your fiancé has been under federal investigation for 18 months, Ward said. "We were planning to arrest him next week. But thanks to last night's dramatic revelation, he knows we're coming. Which makes him exponentially more dangerous." "Daniel said 2 days," Sophia whispered. Ward's expression sharpened. "Daniel Johnson told you that?" "He gave me documents. Evidence. About Adrian's money laundering." "May I see them?" Sophia gathered the scattered papers from the bed, handed them over. Ward flipped through them, her face unreadable. Then she did something Sophia didn't expect. She smiled. "He actually did it," Ward murmured. "That beautiful bastard actually did it." "Excuse me." Clara interjected. "Who did what?" Ward looked up at Sophia, and her expression shifted into something almost gentle. "Ms. Bennett, what I'm about to tell you is classified information. But given the circumstances, you need to know the truth." "What truth?" "Daniel Johnson has been a federal informant for the past 4 years." The world stopped. "What?" Sophia couldn't have heard that correctly. 4 years ago, we arrested him on racketeering charges. Faced with 20 years in federal prison, he made a deal. Full immunity in exchange for information on organized crime operations in the city. Ward set down the tablet. "He's one of our most valuable assets. He's helped us take down 3 major operations and secure dozens of convictions." Sophia sat down heavily on the bed. "That's impossible." "I understand this is shocking." "No, you don't understand." Sophia's mind raced. "He told me he was a criminal. Last night, on the phone, I asked him directly if he was a criminal and he said yes." "Because he is," Ward said simply. "Being an informant doesn't erase what he's done or what he continues to do to maintain his cover. Daniel Johnson runs real operations. Moves real money. Works with real criminals. The only difference is that he reports everything to us. He lives in both worlds, Ms. Bennett. And it's destroying him." The pain in Ward's voice was unexpected. "Personal. You care about him," Sophia realized. "He's risked his life hundreds of times for this country. For people who'll never know his name or thank him for his sacrifice. So yes, I care about keeping him alive." Ward's jaw tightened. "Which is why I need to know exactly what happened last night. Every detail." Sophia told her everything. The wedding. Daniel's arrival. The documents. Adrian's confession. The phone call. When she finished, Ward was pale. "He exposed himself," the agent whispered. "In front of 200 witnesses, he publicly connected himself to you. The families he works with, they're going to ask questions. Demand explanations. If they think his loyalty is compromised." She didn't finish the sentence. "She didn't have to. He did this to save you," Ward continued. "And it might cost him everything." Sophia's chest tightened. "I didn't ask him to." "No. You just sent him a wedding invitation." Ward's tone wasn't accusatory, just tired. "When he saw you were marrying Adrian Bates, he begged me to let him warn you. I said no. Too risky. Might compromise the investigation. He waited as long as he could. Then he made a choice." "He chose me," Sophia said softly. "He's always chosen you." Ward pulled up another photo on her tablet. "We've had surveillance on him for 4 years. Do you know where he goes every Sunday morning?" She turned the screen. The photograph showed Daniel standing in front of a small art gallery in Brooklyn. The same gallery where they'd met. He was just standing there, staring at the building. "Every Sunday," Ward repeated. "For 4 years. Like he's hoping you'll walk out of that door again." Tears burned Sophia's eyes. There's more you need to know, Ward said, her voice dropping. Adrian Bates isn't just laundering money for the Vescovis. 3 days ago, we intercepted communications suggesting he's planning something bigger. We think he's trying to broker a deal with a rival family, using information he has about the Vescovis operations. So he's, what? Starting a war? Essentially. And you, Ms. Bennett, were supposed to be his insurance policy. A respectable wife to legitimize him while he made his move. But now you're a liability. You know too much. Clara grabbed Sophia's hand. So what do? We put Ms. Bennett in protective custody until... Sophia's phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. They're coming for you. Right now. Don't trust Ward. Get out. She looked up at the FBI agent, her blood turning cold. Ward's expression hadn't changed. But her partner had moved, positioning himself between them and the door, blocking the exit. Who texted you? Ward asked calmly. Sophia's mind raced. If Daniel was an FBI informant, why would he tell her not to trust them? Unless... Show me your badge again, Sophia said. Ward's smile was razor-thin. I don't think so. The male agent pulled his weapon, and Sophia realized with horror that these people weren't FBI at all. The door exploded inward. Daniel stood in the shattered doorway with 4 armed men, his face a mask of fury and fear. Get away from her, he said quietly. The fake agents moved fast, but Daniel's men moved faster. Gunshots cracked the air. Clara screamed. Sophia hit the floor, her ears ringing, her heart trying to escape her chest. When the noise stopped, the fake agents were on the ground, disarmed and bleeding. Daniel was across the room in seconds, pulling Sophia to her feet, his hands frantically checking her for injuries. Are you hurt? Sophia, look at me. Are you hurt? No, Daniel, what? Vescovi sent them. His voice shook with rage. Adrian made a deal. Traded information about my connection to you in exchange for protection. Now they think you're my weakness. They'll use you to control me or kill you to send a message. He cupped her face in his hands, and she saw it, the fear. The vulnerability beneath all that power. I'm sorry, he whispered. I'm so sorry I brought this to your door. But I'm going to fix it. I promise you, I'm going to fix this. Daniel. You have to come with me. Right now. It's the only way I can keep you safe. Sophia looked at this man, this criminal, this informant, this ghost from her past who'd never stopped loving her. This man who'd just saved her life. She looked at Clara, wide-eyed and terrified. Then she looked at the fake agents on the floor and the very real guns and the evidence that her entire world had become a war zone. And she made a choice. Okay, she said. I'll come with you. Relief and pain warred across Daniel's face. He took her hand, and Sophia stepped into the darkness with the only man who'd ever told her the truth, even when it destroyed them both. The safe house was a warehouse in Red Hook, all concrete and shadows and the smell of oil. Sophia sat on a cot wrapped in Daniel's jacket while his men secured the perimeter. Clara had refused to leave her side, sitting close enough that their shoulders touched, an anchor to reality. Daniel was across the room, phone pressed to his ear, his voice low and urgent. She caught fragments. Contained. No, I don't care what Vescovi thinks, she's not negotiable. When he finally approached, his expression was carefully blank. The mask was back. The real FBI knows what happened, he said. Agent Ward, the actual one, is furious. This whole situation has compromised the investigation. I'm sorry. Don't. He cut her off, his voice sharp. Don't apologize for being used as a pawn in someone else's war. What happens now? Daniel crouched in front of her, and for a moment, his mask slipped. She saw exhaustion. Fear. Something that looked like goodbye. I have to meet with Vescovi. Convince him you mean nothing to me. That last night was just old business. A final insult to an ex before she married someone else. His jaw clenched. If I can sell that story, he might leave you alone. And if you can't? He didn't answer. Didn't have to. Daniel, There has to be another way. There isn't. He stood abruptly, putting distance between them. After tonight, you won't see me again. Ward will put you in actual protective custody until this is over. New identity if necessary. You'll be safe. What about you? His smile was bitter. I stopped being safe 7 years ago. The truth hit her like a physical blow. This is my fault. If I hadn't sent that invitation, then you'd be married to a man who was using you. Possibly dead when his deal with the rival family went bad. Or in federal prison as an accessory to his crimes. Daniel's dark eyes found hers. I'd rather burn my entire world down than let any of that happen to you. Why? The question tore out of her. After everything I did, walking away, choosing security over you, why do you still care? He was silent for so long she thought he wouldn't answer. Then, you want the truth. The real truth. She nodded. Losing you broke something in me. Made me realize that without you, nothing else mattered. Not money. Not safety. Not survival. So I stopped trying to be the kind of man who deserved you and became the kind of man who could protect you from a distance. His voice cracked. Even if you never knew. Even if you hated me. Even if you married someone else. I just needed you to be safe and happy. That's all I've ever needed. Tears streamed down Sophia's face. I wasn't happy. What? With Adrian. I wasn't happy. I was comfortable. Secure. But not happy. She stood, closing the distance between them. The night I sent you that invitation, I told myself it was closure. But that was a lie. I sent it because I never stopped wondering what if. What if I'd been braver? What if I'd chosen love over fear? Daniel's hands trembled as they came up to frame her face. Sophia. His phone rang. The moment shattered. He answered, listened, and went pale. When? How many? Understood. He hung up, and when he looked at her, she saw something that terrified her. Defeat. What is it? She whispered. Adrian's dead. Found in his apartment an hour ago. Single gunshot to the head. Vescovi's signature. Clara gasped. Sophia felt the room tilt. And there's more, Daniel continued, his voice hollow. They took Natalie. Vescovi has her. He's demanding a trade. What kind of trade? You. He said it flatly. You for Natalie. He knows I pulled you out of that hotel. Knows I used my resources to protect you. He says if you mean nothing to me like I claim, I should have no problem handing you over. If I refuse. He couldn't finish. It proves you're compromised, Sophia realized. That your loyalty is divided. I'm a dead man either way. Daniel's laugh was broken. If I give you to him, Ward loses her informant and you die. If I refuse, he kills Natalie and me, then comes for you anyway. The trap was perfect. Inescapable. There has to be something. There isn't. His control finally snapped. Don't you understand? I can't save you this time. I can't fix this. The only thing I can do is buy you time to disappear before. No. Sophia grabbed his jacket, forcing him to look at her. We face this together. You don't understand what these people are capable of. Then show me. Her voice steadied. Stop protecting me from the truth. Stop making decisions for me. 7 years ago, I walked away because I was scared. I chose safety over love, and it was the biggest mistake of my life. I won't make it again. Sophia, if something happens to you, then it happens to both of us. She pulled him closer. I'm done running, Daniel. From you. From this. From everything I should have fought for 7 years ago. For the first time since walking into her wedding, Daniel's armor completely cracked. He kissed her. Desperate and fierce and full of 7 years of longing and regret and love that had survived everything meant to kill it. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, he rested his forehead against hers. I don't know how to save us, he whispered. Then we'll figure it out together, she whispered back. Outside, The city hummed with danger and death and impossible choices. But in that moment, holding each other in the darkness, they were exactly who they'd always been. Two people who loved each other enough to burn the world down, or save it. Clara had been quiet too long. Sophia turned to find her friend staring at her phone, her photographer's mind clearly working through something. "What is it?" Sophia asked. "I'm thinking about angles." Clara looked up. "Vescovi wants you because he thinks you're Daniel's weakness. Right. That's the problem, yes," Daniel said tersely. "No. That's the solution." Clara stood, pacing. "He thinks he has leverage. But what if we flip it? What if we make him the one with something to lose?" Daniel's eyes narrowed. "Keep talking." "The real Agent Ward. Call her. Tell her we'll give her Vescovi. Tonight. Everything she needs to arrest him and dismantle his entire operation." Clara's voice gained momentum. "But we need something from her first." "What?" Sophia asked. "Immunity. For Natalie." Clara looked at Daniel. "She's the key. Adrian's actual wife. She knows everything about his deals, his records, his connections. If Ward wants to close the whole case, Adrian's network and Vescovi's, Natalie's testimony is gold." Understanding dawned on Daniel's face. "We're not trading Sophia for Natalie. We're trading Vescovi's freedom for Natalie's testimony." "Exactly. But Vescovi doesn't know that until it's too late." Sophia's heart raced. "How do we get him to bring Natalie to the exchange?" "We don't give him a choice." Daniel pulled out his phone. "We tell him the trade happens in a public location. Somewhere he has to bring proof Natalie's alive or the deal's off. Somewhere the FBI can position assets without him knowing." "He'll have his own men there," Sophia said. "So will I." Daniel's expression hardened with purpose. "And so will the FBI. We box him in. Get Natalie out. Then Ward moves in for the arrest." "And me?" Sophia asked quietly. Daniel looked at her, and something fierce and protective blazed in his eyes. "You never get within 100 yards of him. We use a decoy, someone wearing your clothes, same height and build, but not you. Never you. He'll know. Not until it's too late. Not if we do this right." Daniel was already dialing. "Ward. It's me. I'm about to hand you the biggest arrest of your career, but I need you to trust me." 2 hours later, Sophia stood in a different safe house, watching a female FBI agent try on her coat. The resemblance was unsettling. Same height. Similar build. Hair dyed to match Sophia's shade. "How do you feel about getting shot at?" the agent asked conversationally. "Sarah, don't scare her," Ward said, walking in. She looked at Sophia. "This is incredibly risky." "So is doing nothing," Sophia replied. Ward's expression softened. For what it's worth, Daniel's never broken protocol before. Never compromised an operation. Never put himself on the line like this. "You must be pretty special." "He's the special one," Sophia said quietly. "I just finally figured it out." Outside, Daniel was coordinating with his men and Ward's tactical team. Watching him work, the precision, the authority, the way he moved between two worlds with such practiced ease, Sophia saw him clearly for the first time. Not the struggling artist she'd left behind. Not the criminal she'd feared. But someone who'd taken his broken pieces and built something stronger. Someone who'd survived impossible choices and come out still capable of love. He caught her watching and crossed to her. "Last chance to walk away," he said. "Ward can put you on a plane tonight. New name. New life. You'd be safe. Without you. Without any of this mess." Sophia took his hand, threading her fingers through his. 7 years ago, I chose safety. I've regretted it every day since. I'm not making that mistake again. His grip tightened. "If this goes wrong." "It won't." "Sophia." "It won't," she repeated fiercely. "Because you're brilliant and stubborn and you've been surviving impossible situations for 4 years. And because for the first time, you're not doing it alone." Something in his expression broke open. Vulnerable and raw and true. He pulled her close, kissing her forehead, her cheeks, finally her lips, soft and reverent and full of promises neither of them could be sure they'd keep. "When this is over," he whispered against her mouth, "we're leaving this city. Going somewhere quiet. And I'm going to spend every day making up for the 7 years I lost with you." "When this is over," she whispered back, "I'm never letting you go again." Ward cleared her throat. "Hate to interrupt, but Vescovi just confirmed the location. Pier 47. Midnight. We have 3 hours." Daniel stepped back, his expression shifting into something harder. "Strategic. Then let's end this." Pier 47 smelled like salt water and rust. Sophia watched from inside a surveillance van 2 blocks away, her heart hammering as camera feeds showed Daniel arriving with his men. He moved with cold confidence, but she knew him well enough now to see the tension in his shoulders. He was terrified. Target approaching from the south, Ward's voice crackled through the comms. 4 vehicles. Vescovi's in the second one. On screen, black SUVs rolled to a stop. Armed men emerged first, forming a perimeter. Then Carlo Vescovi himself, a man in his 60s with silver hair and eyes like chips of ice. He wasn't alone. They dragged Natalie out of the third vehicle. She was bruised, terrified, barely able to stand. Sophia's hands clenched into fists. "Easy," Ward murmured beside her. "Let it play out." On the pier, Daniel and Vescovi faced each other across 20 feet of empty space. "You've disappointed me, Daniel." Vescovi's voice carried across the water. "I gave you everything. Power. Respect. A place in my organization. And you repay me by compromising yourself over a woman." "She means nothing," Daniel said flatly. "This is business. A trade. Nothing more." "Then where is she?" Daniel gestured. The decoy agent stepped forward from behind one of his men, wearing Sophia's coat, her hood up. Vescovi smiled. "Bring her closer." "Not until Natalie crosses to my side." "You're not in a position to negotiate." "Actually, I am." Daniel's voice dropped to something dangerous. "Because I know about your side deal with the Kozlov family. Using Adrian's information to undercut your own partners. The 5 families would be very interested to learn you've been stealing from them." Vescovi's expression went cold. "Careful, boy. Send Natalie across, or I make a phone call that ends you." For a long moment, no one moved. Then Vescovi nodded to his men. They released Natalie, shoving her forward. She stumbled across the pier toward Daniel, sobbing. "Now your turn," Vescovi said. The decoy agent started walking. In the van, Sophia held her breath. "Positions ready," Ward said into her comm on my signal. The decoy was 10 feet from Vescovi when everything went wrong. One of Vescovi's men suddenly shouted, pointing. "That's not her. I saw the Bennett woman at the hotel, that's not her." Vescovi's hand shot out, grabbing the decoy's hood and yanking it back. Time seemed to stop. Then Vescovi's face twisted with rage. "You played me." He pulled a gun. "Now!" Ward screamed. FBI agents swarmed from every direction, from containers, from rooftops, from boats on the water. Floodlights blazed to life, turning night into day. "Carlo Vescovi, you're under arrest." But Vescovi wasn't looking at the FBI. He was looking at Daniel with murder in his eyes. "You're a dead man," he snarled, raising his weapon. Daniel moved first. The gunshot cracked the air. Sophia screamed, her eyes locked on the screen as Daniel went down. "No!" She was already moving, throwing off her headset, lunging for the van door. Ward grabbed her. "Sophia, wait." But she couldn't wait. Couldn't breathe. Couldn't exist in a world where Daniel took a bullet meant to protect her. She tore free and ran. The pier was chaos, FBI agents subduing Vescovi's men, handcuffs clicking, voices shouting. She pushed through them all, desperate, searching. And found him. Daniel was on his knees, one hand pressed to his shoulder, blood seeping through his fingers. But alive. Conscious. staring at her with wide, horrified eyes. "What are you doing here?" he gasped. "You were supposed to stay." She crashed into him, wrapping her arms around him, careful of his wound but unable to let go. "You idiot," she sobbed into his neck. "You beautiful, stupid, self-sacrificing idiot." His uninjured arm came around her, holding her like she was the only thing keeping him tethered to earth. "I'm okay," he whispered. "I'm okay. Just a shoulder wound. Sophia, I'm okay." Paramedics rushed over, trying to separate them to treat him. We need to." "She stays," Daniel said, his grip on her tightening. "She stays with me." So they worked around her, bandaging his shoulder while she held his hand and cried and refused to let go. Across the pier, Ward stood over Vescovi, now in handcuffs, reading him his rights. Natalie sat wrapped in a shock blanket, already talking to federal prosecutors about everything she knew. Adrian's network. Vescovi's operations. Names, dates, numbers, everything. It was over. The war was over. "We did it," Daniel said, looking at Sophia with wonder. "We actually did it." "We did it," she agreed. He reached up with his good hand, cupping her face, his thumb brushing away her tears. "I love you," he said. "I've loved you for 7 years. Through everything I became, everything I did, that was the one thing that never changed. That never got corrupted. Loving you kept me human." "I love you too," she whispered. "I think I never stopped. I just forgot how to be brave enough to choose it." "Choose it now." His dark eyes searched hers. "Choose me now. Not the artist I was. Not despite who I've become. Just me. All of it. The broken pieces and the sharp edges and the man who'd burn down the world for you." Sophia smiled through her tears. "I choose you, Daniel Johnson. Every version of you. Every day for the rest of my life." He kissed her then, there on the blood-stained pier with federal agents and paramedics and the ruins of his criminal life surrounding them. And it felt like coming home. Ward approached, her expression carefully neutral. "We'll need statements from both of you. And Daniel, there's going to be a substantial debriefing process. Your cover's blown. Your work with the families is done." "Good," Daniel said without hesitation. "I'm done with that life anyway. The Bureau wants to discuss your future. Witness protection. Possible relocation." "Whatever it takes," he said, his eyes never leaving Sophia's. "As long as she's with me." "Always," Sophia promised. Ward's professional mask cracked into a small smile. "Then let's get you patched up and start planning your new life." As the paramedics loaded Daniel into an ambulance, Sophia climbed in beside him. Clara appeared at the doors, breathless and wild-eyed. Are you?" "We're okay," Sophia said. "We're going to be okay." Clara's eyes filled with tears. "You scared me half to death, running out like that." "I had to. I couldn't lose him again." "I know." Clara squeezed her hand. "I'll meet you at the hospital." The ambulance doors closed. And as they pulled away from the pier, from the arrested criminals and the ending of one life, Sophia held Daniel's hand and looked toward the beginning of another. 6 months later. The little house overlooked the ocean in a town whose name Sophia had never heard of before the Witness Protection Program brought them here. It wasn't much, 2 bedrooms, a porch that creaked, paint that needed touching up. It was perfect. Sophia stood in the doorway of what Daniel had converted into a studio, watching him work. His shoulder had healed, leaving only a scar he sometimes traced absently when he thought she wasn't looking. A reminder of the night everything changed. He was painting again. Not the angry, desperate art of his youth. Something different now. Deeper. A canvas full of blues and golds, the ocean at sunrise. Beautiful and peaceful and alive with hope. "You're staring," he said without turning around. "I'm admiring," she corrected, walking in to wrap her arms around him from behind. He set down his brush, turning in her embrace to kiss her properly. Even after 6 months, it still felt like a miracle. Waking up next to him. Making coffee together. Building a life that belonged to them and no one else. "How was your call with Clara?" he asked. "Good." She's coming to visit next month. She wants to do a whole photo series on our quaint coastal life. Sophia smiled. She's also dating that FBI agent. Sarah. The one who played me. Daniel laughed, a sound that still surprised her with its lightness. Of course she is. And Ward called. The trial's finished. His expression sobered. And Vescovi got 40 years. His entire organization dismantled. The Kozlov family took a deal. Natalie's testimony sealed everything. Sophia paused. Ward says you're officially free. No more debriefings. No more looking over your shoulder. It's really over, Daniel. She felt the tension leave his body. He'd been holding it for so long, years of living in danger, of pretending, of survival, that letting go was almost foreign to him. Free, he repeated, testing the word. I don't think I remember what that feels like. Then let's figure it out together. He pulled her closer, resting his forehead against hers. I don't deserve you. Stop that. She pulled back to look at him. You saved my life. You risked everything for me. You loved me when I didn't have the courage to love myself. You deserve every happiness in the world. I have it, he said simply. Right here. Her phone buzzed. A reminder. Oh, we have to go. We're going to be late. Late for what? She grinned. You'll see. 20 minutes later, they pulled up to a small community center. Inside, a banner read, Local Artist Showcase, all welcome. Daniel stared at it, then at her. Sophia, what is this? You've been painting again. Beautiful work. Work that deserves to be seen. She took his hand. I know you're not that struggling artist anymore. You're someone different now, someone stronger, someone who survived impossible things. But you're still an artist. Daniel. That part of you never died. So I thought, maybe it's time to let the world see what you create when you're finally free. His eyes filled with tears. You did this for me. The director's a friend of a friend. She has a wall waiting for you. No pressure. No expectations. Just, if you want to share your art with people again. If you're ready. He looked at the community center, then back at her, and his smile was like sunrise. I'm ready. They hung 3 of his paintings. The ocean at sunrise. A portrait of Sophia reading on their porch. An abstract piece full of light breaking through darkness. People came. Locals. Artists. Strangers who became friends over wine and conversation. And Daniel stood among them, talking about technique and inspiration and the journey from darkness to light, and Sophia watched him bloom. This was who he was always meant to be. Not a criminal. Not even just a survivor. An artist. A man who created beauty from pain. Later, as they walked along the beach under stars, Daniel stopped suddenly. What? Sophia asked. He dropped to one knee. Her breath caught. I don't have a ring, he said. I didn't plan this. But standing there tonight, watching you watch me, seeing the life you've built for us, I realized I don't want to wait another second. Daniel. 7 years ago, I lost you because I had nothing to offer. Then I built an empire on darkness and violence, and it still wasn't enough. But this, he gestured to the beach, the stars, the simple life they'd created. This is everything. You are everything. And I don't want to spend one more day not calling you my wife. Tears streamed down her face. You're serious. Completely. Marry me, Sophia Bennett. Not in some big wedding with 200 people. Just us. Just this. Just love. She pulled him to his feet and kissed him with everything she had. Yes, she said against his lips. Yes. 1,000 times yes. He lifted her, spinning her around while she laughed and cried and held on to the man she'd lost and found and chosen and would keep choosing for the rest of her life. They were married a week later on that same beach with Clara and Ward as witnesses. Sophia wore a simple white dress. Daniel wore paint-stained jeans and the most genuine smile she'd ever seen. There were no expensive flowers. No string quartet. No 200 guests. Just two people who'd survived impossible odds to find their way back to each other. As they exchanged vows, promises written on napkins the night before, full of love and laughter and hope, Sophia thought about the invitation that started everything. She'd sent it thinking she wanted closure. Instead, she'd found beginning. "I now pronounce you husband and wife," Ward said, grinning. "Daniel, you may kiss your bride." Again. He did, dipping her dramatically while Clara snapped photos and the ocean roared its approval. And as the sun set on their wedding day, Sophia held her husband's hand and looked toward a future full of art and love and the kind of happiness she'd once thought was only for other people. They'd both been broken. Both been lost. But together, they'd found something stronger than either of them could have built alone. A love that survived everything meant to destroy it. A second chance neither of them thought they deserved. And a life that was finally, beautifully, impossibly theirs. Now we have come to the end of the story. Thank you for watching to the end. Share with me in the comments how you feel about the story. Also like this video, make sure you subscribe and hit the notification bell so you won't miss any of our upcoming stories.